Hi and welcome back. In this video we're going to continue working on the second project in our series, and specifically what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and create this lightbox gallery on the About page. And you can see the effect that we're going to do here. We've got some thumbnail images right here, and when we click on the thumbnail you can see a larger version of the image appears along with a caption. And if I click another one there, you'll see that I'm using kind of small images here, but your images could be as large as you want. So that's what we're going to go ahead and set up in this video. So let's go ahead and go back into Dreamweaver here, and I'm in my project folder right now, and I've actually gone ahead and created a page called about.html, and I've applied the right side template to it. And we've done that in several other videos, so if you don't know how to create a file and apply a template to it, go back and refer to some of those earlier videos. Now we actually need to go ahead and go into the framework and grab some files in order for this lightbox to work. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my framework, and I'm going to go into my framework folder and into the JavaScript folder, and you'll see the plugins folder there. And we're going to go ahead and go into the Lightbox Gallery folder. And I'll go ahead and open that on up, and we're going to go ahead and move several files over at this point. I'm going to go ahead and open up each one of these folders here, and you can see the items that we need to move over. First two things we need to move over are this CSS file right here and this JavaScript file. We also need to move these images over, but we'll do that in just a second. So I'm going to go ahead and click the first file, then hold down the Control key and click the next file to select both of them. And then I'm going to go ahead and right click, select Edit, and Copy. And I'm going to go back into my project folder, and I'm just going to right click on my JS folder, my JavaScript folder, Edit, and Paste. And that will paste those two new files into that folder. Now obviously the JavaScript file does belong here, but the CSS file does not. So I'm going to drag that up into my CSS folder and click Update. So you should now have lightbox.css and lightbox.js in the appropriate folders. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab those images that we're going to need. Now these aren't going to be the images that you're actually going to see on the page. These aren't the photos that you're going to be working with. These are images for the actual plugin themselves. So I'm going to come back into my framework, and there's my Lightbox Gallery folder, and I need to select all 5 of these items. And these are just basically images for the close button, the next, previous, so on and so forth. So I'm going to select all 5 of those, right click, Edit, Copy, and then I'm going to go back into my project folder, right click on Images, go to Edit, and Paste. So I'm going to paste those Lightbox images directly into the Images folder. So now we've got all the material that we need. But I'm going to go over and go back into my framework folder one more time, because there's going to be a file here called lightboxcode.txt, and these are the instructions for setting up this lightbox. So I'm going to go ahead and open that on up so that we can begin working through the different steps here. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back into my project folder, and I'm going to open up my About file. And again, I just created a new file here and applied the right side template to it. So I'm going to go ahead and open that on up there, and here I am in the About page. And I want to go ahead and put those images right in this area right here. So let's go ahead now and come into my lightboxcode.txt and begin to work through the different steps here. Now the first step is to make sure that you actually have the jQuery.js and the lightbox.js file attached to your HTML page. Now, if you're using my framework, or if you have done the banner slider from earlier, you're already going to have jQuery attached to your template. And if I go in here to About and go into Code View, scroll over here and scroll up to the top, you can see right up at the very top of the head section, there's the link to the jQuery library. But we don't have a link right now to this Lightbox script. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and copy it. And then I'm going to come back into my About page. You need to place this in the editable region for the head section, just like we did the other plugins. So you can see here, here's my title inside of my editable region. I'm going to go ahead and click to the right of that and hit Enter. And it's this blank line that we want to paste that code into. And you can either right-click or do Edit Paste or just Control-V just to paste that script into that page. Now let's come back to our instructions here. The second thing that we need to do is we need to link to the lightbox.cs file. And you can see the code for that right there. Again, I'm going to go ahead and copy that, come back into my About page, and I'm going to go ahead and click at the end of that script line that we just added and hit Enter. And again, it's on this blank line here that I want to paste that link in. Now, before we go any further, couple notes. One is you can see here the source is already set for both this script as well as this style sheet right here, the href and the source. And you can see the source is pointing to the lightbox.js file, but it's in the JavaScript folder. And same thing here, it's pointing to the lightbox.css inside the CSS folder. If you decided to place your CSS or your JavaScript in another folder other than the ones we pasted them into, you're going to need to put the correct path in here. And that's very simple. You just simply highlight what's there, type a quotation mark, and Browse will come up. You press Enter, and you just go find the file. And again, in this case, it's in the JavaScript folder, so I'll just select that again. So you need to make sure that you're actually pointing to the correct item. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And you can tell that you've hooked these items up correctly by looking up here in your related files section. You see I've got about.html there. And right now I'm looking at the source code, but you can see jQuery right here, and if I click on that, you'll see the jQuery library. If nothing comes up here, or if nothing comes up for your lightbox.js or your lightbox.css, then you know that the source path was not set up correctly. So let's go ahead now, and I'm going to save this. Oh, I already did that, but just save. And let's go back into our instructions and set up the next item. The next item is the code that actually activates the plugin. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight this content right here, and I'm going to go ahead and copy it, and then I'm going to go back into the About page, and again at the end of the item that we added in this editable region right here, I'm going to hit Enter, and on that blank line I'm going to paste that script in there. And you can always go ahead and add extra lines in here to sort of space this out if you want to. And again, I'm going to go ahead and save that. So far we've gone ahead and we've made sure that we have the jQuery library attached. Then we've gone ahead and we've attached the plugin script, as well as the style sheet for the plugin script, and then we've added the code that's actually going to activate that plugin. Now the next thing we want to go ahead and do is actually set up the images that are going to form our gallery. So for this, what we're going to need is we're going to need the actual images that you're going to include in the gallery. In other words, you're going to need these images right here. So when I click on that, you're going to need the image that is going to jump up here. Now, if you download the framework and the finished project for this, or the images for this, you're going to find in your images folder a series of sample images here labeled 1 JPEG through 8 JPEG. And that's what we're actually going to go ahead and use for this gallery. If not, you're going to need to go find a few sample images or create a few sample images for this project. And I would make them approximately maybe 500 pixels wide by 300 pixels deep or something like that. Don't make them too big and don't make them too small either. So we've got these images in here and they're ready to go. And the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to come back into here to my instructions. And you can see here, here's the code for the actual light box that we're going to create. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, copy it, and then I'm going to go ahead and go into the About page again. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down into my content area. And you can see here the content that we've got in here. I've got my main heading and then a couple paragraphs and then a subheading. And I actually want this gallery to appear in between these two paragraphs right here. So that's that first paragraph. And whoops, I accidentally collapsed that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter there to give myself a blank line in between those two paragraphs. And then I'm going to paste that sample code in. And actually I'm going to go ahead and hit enter there just to give myself some more space. And then I'm going to highlight it and tab it over. Now, right now, there's only going to be one image inside of this gallery. Now, your gallery needs to be in its own div, and the div should have the ID of gallery. Now, there are some other ways of setting this up, and I include those instructions down here. But this is generally the simplest way to do this. So I've made sure that I have a div here, and I've ID'd it as gallery. There are two lines here, an anchor tag and an image tag. And you're going to see that the image tag here, the anchor tag, if I scroll over, it says insert photo path here. And then the next one says insert photo path right down here as well. But after that, and again this is on the second line, you've got a width and a height statement right here. This is the line that's going to denote the full size version of your image. And this is going to be the line that's going to create the small thumbnail of your image. Both of these should be pointing to the exact same file, because the thumbnail is created just by reducing the size of the actual image by putting in a width and a height here. And I chose 120 by 80. You can adjust those sizes so your thumbnails appear and are sized optimally for your images. So you can definitely adjust the width and the height of your thumbnails here. But what you do need to go ahead and do is you do need to go ahead and actually put the path to your image in there. So you can see I've highlighted everything in quotation marks there, including the quotes, and then I'm just going to go ahead and type another quote, and you'll see my browse option comes up. I'll press enter, and you're going to come into your select file dialog box. Right now I'm in the JavaScript file because that's the last place I left off on. But I'm going to go ahead and click my up one level button here. It's the folder with a green icon on it. And then I can see my images folder. Make sure that you're in your project folder right here. There's my images folder. And I'll scroll down here, and there's the first image that I'm going to go ahead and use. And you can see the full-size version of this. I'll click OK, and I went ahead and put that in there. You need to do the exact same thing for the second item. Highlight everything in between the quotation marks there, including the quotation marks, and then type a quote. Hit Enter to go into your Browse option, and you're going to select the exact same image. So that path should be the same for both of them. And again, you can adjust the width and the height of the thumbnail image that comes up by changing these values right here. The caption for the image, and again, let me go ahead and bring up our finished project here, and I'll click an image. The caption for the image, says this is the caption text right there, is contained right here in our title. So you can go ahead and modify this to have your specific caption. And I'm just going to go ahead and type caption for first image in gallery. And again, you can type whatever you want there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. And let's go ahead now and see if this is actually working. I'm going to go ahead and click my drop-down item right there. And I'm going to say Preview in Chrome. And it's going to bring up preview of my image there, or my page. And there's my image. You can see it's sized at 120 by 80. And when I click it, I should get the full-size version of that image appear. I'll go ahead and close that off and come back into my page. And again, we just have one image there right now. But you can add as many images to this gallery as you want. And I'm going to come back in here to Code View. And again, you can see the div that I have my gallery and the two lines that are right there. In order to add additional images, all you do is highlight these two lines, copy them, and then go ahead and create an extra space in that div or an extra line in that div. And it's on this blank line right here that we're going to go ahead and paste that in there again. You would go ahead and point to your next image in your series. And one thing that I do that's really helpful sometimes in setting up these galleries, and this may not work for larger galleries where you need more descriptive names, but I've just named my images 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. And so I can just really quickly come in here and change this to 2. And then I can go ahead and paste another one in there again. Again, I have that same code copied. And I can name that one 3. So now I have 3 images in my gallery. So let's go ahead and check that out in Chrome. See how that's going to work. There I go. There are my 3 images. And one more there. And so now I have my 3 images. Now, right now, these images are set up as block level elements. So they're stacking on top of one another. And in our sample, they actually aren't stacking on top of one another. They're actually lined up here. So let's go ahead and make that change in the CSS file. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that, and I'm back here in Dreamweaver now. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my lightbox.css file right here. And I'm down at the bottom of this style sheet under Gallery Styles. And I'm going to go ahead and create a style. And I'm going to call it Gallery. And this is for A tags inside of the gallery. And I want these to float. Oops, give myself a space there. I want these to float to the left. And you can see there's some other styles in here that will affect the way your gallery looks, such as the width of the overall gallery. If you're on a very wide page or very narrow page, you may need to change that value. And here are some values for the individual images and the hover effect over on top of it. So we went ahead and I floated those A tag images over to the left. I'm going to go ahead and save all this. Right click Save All. And then I'm going to come back into my source code and into Design View, and you should now see that your images are appearing right there. And if I go ahead and go into out of live view, you may notice that this text floats up into this area right here, but it should not be doing that when you're actually in live view or when you're previewing it in a browser. If it does do that for you, there's a simple way around that. I'm going to go ahead and close out of some of these here. And come back in here. And if you're getting this wrapping, basically what you could do is you could expand the spacing or add another image in here to push this over. Or go into Code View, and here's my last image. And what I can do is, after that last image, I can put a break in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm outside of my div, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a break, which is that tag right there. And I'll save that, and let's go into Design View now, and now you should see that that has been pushed down there. And when I actually look at my live view, you'll see that as well. And again, you could go into your CSS, and there's more space right up here than there is down here, but you could create a CSS rule to change that, or maybe even put in a second break tag to move that down just a little bit there, just like that. So you can even that out with CSS or just by putting in an extra break. Well, let's go ahead and test our gallery and make sure it's working here. I'll bring this up in Chrome one last time, and there I go. And again, we should always test all of our pages in all of our browsers. I'll bring up Firefox here, and whoops, Firefox is much larger. And let's go ahead and resize that a little bit, and let's see how that's working inside of Firefox. Make sure all of my images are actually working there. And let's go ahead and do Internet Explorer. And move this over here. And depending on your security settings here, you may need to say allow blocked content. And there are my light boxes. And there they're working in Internet Explorer. And again, I've been kind of negligent on emphasizing the fact that you need to test this in all the different browsers, but you would want to do this in Safari as well, and possibly also in Opera. Go ahead and resize this. We can see that. Here I am in Safari, and there my item works as well. So make sure you test this in all the popular major browsers. So that's all you need to do to set up a simple Lightbox gallery of images inside of your website. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and work on the reservations page, and we're going to set up a simple a form for people to submit reservations. I'll see you in the next video.